Welcome to Unleashed, the podcast where we redefine leadership by focusing on what truly matters, the people driving change. Change leadership is about guiding people through transformation in a way that inspires them to embrace change because they believe in it. Whether you're a leader looking to foster a culture of growth or someone eager to break through barriers in life and business, this podcast is for you. Now our host, Wendi.
Welcome to the Unleash podcast, where we unleash the barriers of unrealized potential. I'm your host, Wendi. Today's guest is shaking up the superfood world, say that 10 times fast, superfood world, while having a strong social impact. Lisa Curtis is the founder and CEO of Kuli Kuli Foods. Lisa, am I saying that correctly?
Yeah, Kuli Kuli Foods. You got it.
Kuli Kuli Foods. That is such a cool name. I can't wait to dig into that. So Kuli Kuli Foods is a brand, is her brand that put moringa, which we're going to dig into that too, a powerhouse leafy green. Lisa has put that on the map. From the Peace Corps to the shelves of over 11,000 stores, Lisa's journey is all about turning a mission-driven idea into a multi-million-dollar movement. So, Lisa, welcome to Unleashed.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I was looking at your LinkedIn and reading your profile and on your website. You just have so many interesting things that you're doing. And one of the things that you said that I was just like, what? You call yourself a millennial social entrepreneur. And I just find that fascinating because, after COVID, we lost 33% of the workforce to influencers and, people are doing non-traditional work. And, you're just one of those people that this modern day workforce is just figuring it out. So how did all of this start for you and why this moringa path?
Yeah. Not planned. Totally not the thing I thought I was, planning as a child. I'm gonna go be a superfood entrepreneur when I grow up. That was not the life path I had planned, but it is one that I kind of fell into actually after college when I joined the Peace Corps. So I was a volunteer in Niger, West Africa. I was placed in a super rural village. So if you can imagine, like living in a mud hut, no electricity, no running water, very, very different than probably the life that you and I now lead.
Yeah.
But I'm a vegetarian and felt like I wasn't getting the right nutrients in my diet. I was just kind of eating like carbs all the time and left me feeling just really weak and really tired. And so I asked some of the women in my village, like, hey, what can I eat to give me more energy, give me more protein, just kind of like bring my vitality back? And they literally pulled these leaves off a tree and mixed them into a snack that they call Kuli Kuli. And they said, eat this Kuli Kuli moringa snack and it'll make you feel better. And I was like, what is moringa? Like, I don't know, tree leaves. This all sounds a little crazy. But I totally trusted these women. And so I was like, all right, I'll take anything to make me feel better. And it had such a transformative impact on my health. Like unlike anything I have ever taken before. I was like, wow, like I feel so much more energized. My digestion's improved. Like it just gave me this amazing boost. And so I started asking them, how can I help you grow more of this, use more of it locally? And the thing they said to me is like, we're not going to grow a crop that we can't sell. So how about you help us sell it? So it was really like, okay, yeah, sure. Like I was 23 at the time. I was like, yeah, no problem. I'll help you introduce this like totally unknown superfood to US and like, we'll do it right away, like make it happen and then I'll be done and move on to something else. And, 12 years later, I'm still doing it, but it's been an amazing journey. So Kuli Kuli now sells moringa and other climate-smart, nutrient-rich superfoods in the form of powders, gummies, and lattes in 11,000 stores. So everywhere from Whole Foods to Walmart. And these are, our whole purpose is to really transform your health through these amazing plants. And in doing so, help to transform the lives of the farmers who grow them.
Wow, what a vision, Lisa. And I just picture you in this little West Africa, with all these sweet women and you're just doing this moringa thing. And I can't quite connect the dots from that to, I mean, manufacturing and farming and that. So connect those dots for us because that's a lot.
Yeah, it's a big dot. There's a lot of little dots. I think the first thing that I did when I got back to the US was just kind of like walk the aisles of the grocery store and be like, okay, like, you know, 10 years ago we were talking about chia pets. We weren't talking about chia seeds. Like a
Right.
couple years ago, like nobody knew how to say acai. Like acai bowls weren't a thing. Like there's a lot of superfoods that like exist in our world that in sort of the American lifestyle that didn't exist just a few
Mm.
years ago. And there's so many amazing crops from other countries that like could do so much if brought here. And so it kind of gave me hope of like, okay, I think I can do this thing. But I had no money. Like the thing Peace Corps is great at is like throwing you into the depths of the developing world. And literally I got paid $20 a month. So came back pretty broke. So the first thing I did was get a day job. And then I kind of was spending like nights, weekends, like every spare moment trying to figure out like how do I do this? Like how do I bring moringa to the US? How do I do it in a way that supports these small farmers? Um, and so I recruited like some of my childhood best friends and we started just really like meeting at the coffee shop once a week, like trying to figure it out. And it takes time. I think one of the things I always tell early stage entrepreneurs is like everybody hears about these businesses who've made it big and they seem like overnight successes, but like when you really poke and you're like, okay, like how long were you starting to work at this before you had your big moment? Like I tell folks, for Kuli Kuli, like I'm like, we're a 10-year overnight success. Like we've been we've been here, been on the market for 12 years and we are now like really hitting our stride and growing
Mm.
quickly. So, um, started out just trying to make products in a commercial kitchen and like test it at farmers markets and really understand like, do people like this? Will they buy it? Can we get some traction with it? And we got a lot of consumer research done through that. And we were surveying everyone who tried it and getting our basic demographics. And then we were able to take that to our local Whole Foods region and say, like, hey, we had about 20% of the people who tried this moringa product purchased it. And we think the demographics align really well with like the demographics of people who shop at Whole Foods. Like, can we make something happen? And so that was our launch onto the market in 2014. And then we like hustled so hard and Whole Foods launched us nationwide in 2016. And that is kind of, yeah, where we've been running, sprinting ever since.
Congratulations. You probably make it look easy, and we know that
Yeah.
it absolutely wasn't. I mean, to go from the Peace Corps to running a multi-million dollar superfood empire, do you ever just look yourself in the mirror and go, what am I doing?
You know, I I don't because I often find that like I think female founders in particular too often question themselves and they're like,
Mm.
"Oh, I need an MBA to do this. Oh, I need a ton of relevant experience." And it's like there's like, you know, kids in software engineers in hoodies, like who've built multi-million dollar businesses and nobody asked them like how they learned to run a business. So for
Mm.
me, it's really like, no, like I am totally capable of this. I'm totally qualified for this. And like, yeah, I didn't come into it with like real business experience. Like pretty much starting my own business was the first time I had worked at a business other than, like restaurants and stuff in college. But
Yeah.
it is. I've learned a ton along the ride, and I think the thing that I always have is just like how do I continue to learn and grow and get better.
So part of your journey, Lisa, I watched one of the videos that you have, and you were talking about, I love what you said. You said being a millennial, of course I crowdfunded to launch my business. So what part did that play? And I'm curious, why do you think this crowdfunding and this entrepreneurship resonates so much with the millennial generation?
Yeah, I mean, I think so like two separate parts. I'll break them down. In terms of crowdfunding, it it really had like two purposes. I think the first was proving that people were excited enough about this idea that they would like put real money behind it.
Mm,
And that was sort of what I needed, is like that vote of confidence from like literally we had like 800 people from all over the world like put in small amounts of money for us to do our first manufacturing run. And that was what I needed to be like, okay, I'm gonna quit my day job, I'm gonna go.
mm,
So that vote of confidence meant a ton. And then the second thing was that, like, a lot of investors thought this was totally crazy. Like, I was taught, I pitched my idea and they're like, wait a minute, you're going to take a superfood that nobody's ever heard of that has like a pretty earthy green flavor. You're going to source this from small farmers in Africa and you're going to introduce this somehow to the US, and you, little girl, are going to do it. So that was kind of the reaction from like a
yeah.
lot of traditional angel investors. And so I found like, okay, like, maybe you all don't want to fund me, but like I think there's something here, and I think there's something that like
Mhm.
everyday people could get excited about. And so that was where crowdfunding really brought that to life in a huge way.
Wow. And I just, it's so funny because when you said that on the video, I'm like, there's got to be a lot of entrepreneurs today that are doing crowdfunding, like Exploding Kittens. One of my favorite games came from, crowdfunding, and Peloton and some of those other things, that I think sometimes I just forget about those sources. And it's amazing how, you've gone from this vision to now, you've been recognized in MSNBC, Time Magazine, Wall Street Journal, and they're all talking about moringa. So, Lisa, that is so exciting, Dr. Oz. And so, other than financially, because I'm sure that's had a huge impact on you, how has it changed your life personally?
Yeah, well, I mean, financially, being a CPG CEO is not as lucrative as you might think. But I will say, I think for me, it's really about feeling like I'm learning and growing every day. Because let me tell you, like,
Yeah.
I've been doing this for 12 years and every day is different. Like, it's just, there's always new challenges. There's always new like highs and lows. And it just feels like it's challenging in a way that excites me.
Yeah.
Um, and then I think the other thing is just like feeling like I am really building towards my life purpose of really wanting to deeply engage with small farming communities and figure out like how do we support them in growing crops that are like great for a changing climate and also great for their community, and like how do we then bring those into products that Americans love that transform their health. And like that is such an fun purpose to be
Yeah.
engaged with. I mean, I traveled to 8 different African countries last year, just like visiting with some suppliers, like being on the ground, like sitting in a moringa field in Tanzania, or like,
Wow.
being with like baobab harvesters in Zimbabwe and hearing about like how the, the terrible drought had like struck them so hard, and like literally harvesting this baobab fruit was like keeping their families alive. So like stuff like that just totally lights me up and makes me so excited to keep going, through the grind of like what is
Mhm.
sometimes the day to day.
Yeah. So yeah, and I want to go there because I want to go into this social impact that you're creating as well, and where that defining moment came from. I look at, you had a personal interest in moringa. How did that evolve then to this mission to empower women in West Africa, and also what you're talking about with farming, and it's become much broader than probably what it was when you first started.
Yeah. I mean, so I think if I go back even farther into like why did I want to join the Peace Corps? Like what sort of
Yeah.
drove me? It was really a bunch of experiences I had in college where I was very fortunate. I got to work with the United Nations and like represent North American youth. So I was going to like all
Mm.
these sustainable development conferences all over the world. And it was just hearing the same conversation happening of like, the US, Europe being like, stop building coal plants, stop polluting your rivers, India and China, like we can't do this anymore. And, all these BRIC countries saying like, hey, actually, you guys had a 200-year industrial revolution where you cut down your forests and polluted your rivers. And like our priority is pulling people out of poverty. And like kind of hearing that like clash, and like, there's got to be a middle ground. Like there's got to be truly sustainable development that like pulls people out of poverty, but does it in a way that actually helps the environment and doesn't hurt it. And so that's where I became like super excited about moringa and other like drought tolerant tree crops, not just because of like the impact on my health, but also because just like it is what our world needs. Like if you think of the crops that we mostly eat, like mostly rice, corn, and soy, and like those are not the most nutrient dense, those are not the most climate smart, and those generally aren't grown by small farmers. They're grown at like massive scale. And so like as our climate changes and as we continue to grow in population, like we really need to do more around these like climate smart community grown crops.
Mhm.
So it's a long answer to your short question, but
Wow.
that is where I'm diving in.
Yeah. Well, and I think about you out there that just, changing the world. And, you're talking about being in Tanzania and all these places that, most of us have never even gone to. And, you're actually out there making a difference. And again, you've learned to farm, you've learned manufacturing, you've learned sales, you've learned marketing, you've learned like that's a big stretch. And so I'm curious to dive into that a little bit and just what's the biggest challenge that you have come up against where you didn't know where to go or I don't know what the challenge was, but what did you do? How did you overcome it and how did you keep moving forward?
Yeah, I mean, I'll answer the biggest challenge, but I also think there's something to just leaning in to not knowing that is
Mm.
actually very powerful. So yeah, as you said, like I came into this like not having worked in CPG, and I started a CPG business. But also, like, I came in knowing that, like, I don't know anything. Like, I don't know how any of this works. Like, let me figure it out. Let me ask a bunch of people. Let me, like, get some great advisors and mentors and, like, let me just, like, really try to learn quickly. And I
Mhm.
think that had I been more experienced, had I, like, known everything that I was signing up for, nobody in the right mind would have signed up for this.
Right.
Like, geez, it's like such a hard problem. Like,
Mhm.
how do we source in Superfood from small farmers? How do we like sell in all these stores? How do we do that on a budget? Like it is challenging, but I think
Yeah.
having this like almost like innocence of like not having done it enabled me to like learn and learn quickly and like do it really well.
Mhm.
And so if I think of like a really hard challenge, like one of our hardest moments was when we got the news from Whole Foods that they wanted to launch this nationwide. So like, yay.
So exciting.
And then a month later, we got the news from our only moringa farming partner in Ghana that a wildfire had just burned down their entire farm.
Oh,
And we were like,
Lisa.
oh my God. Chris, like, how, how are we going to survive this? This is so hard. And so we just like went back to the drawing board and we're like, okay, what our goal is to like source a really high quality product from like an impactful farming operation. Like it doesn't have to be this one women's cooperative in Ghana. Like our
Mhm.
mission is broader than that. And so we ended up, of all things, like finding this amazing family farm in Nicaragua that was doing great things. They happened to have some moringa available, so we like partnered with them and like quickly worked with them to like scale up. And we hit the launch. But it was definitely one of those like, is this gonna kill us? This might
Right.
kill us kind of moments.
Terrifying.
Totally
'Cause
terrifying.
it is, it's that roller coaster of the celebration and then the, completely not within your control, wildfires. And so to rebound from that, you must have, number one, really great people around you. And number two, this resilience that I'm always curious with entrepreneurs like you. Are you born with that? Is it developed? Have you tested your own um, bandwidth? I mean, what have you always had that in your fire in your belly?
I think it's cultivated. So I'm a big believer in like taking care of myself so that I have the bandwidth to take care of everything else.
Yeah.
So like I get a lot of sleep. I'm like pretty adamant, like 8 hours a night. I work out every single morning. I eat really well. I like, stay very hydrated. And I think that like that gives me the ability to like approach the challenges from this
Mm,
like above the line position where I like have the energy to say like, okay, I see you really hard problem and like this sucks and also we're going to figure it out. And I
yeah.
think I can like bring that energy and support to my team.
And so your team is how big now?
Crazy thing about CBG and trying to be profitable in CBG is we are really small because we work with third party co-packers, third party sales reps, third party everything.
Right.
So we're a 10-person team.
Mm-hmm. You do a lot for a 10-person team. Oh my goodness.
Oh, yes. Anyone on my team will tell you probably too much. But we are doing a lot.
So what's next for you?
Yeah. So, I mean, I think we are in a very exciting moment where we just launched our new brand. So, for folks who haven't visited our website or seen some of our new products, we just updated our whole look and feel, which was, kind of like tricky for me as the founder, being like, no, our have like our little logo and our little packaging, but like credit to our head of marketing. She like broke me out of that. And I think it's really cool because we spent a lot of time like really thinking about how to bring our brand to life and how to tell this
Mm,
story of we are more than moringa. We are now have half our product line that is made with other climate smart community grown superfoods that don't include moringa. So things like baobab and hibiscus and lucuma and other really cool products and we have been kind of leaning in on that and at the same time have some insane amount of growth in front of us, so we're launching with Target literally in 2 weeks.
oh my
And
gosh,
then
congratulations.
yeah, thank you. And we're launching with Kroger. We have Walmart is bringing in 5 new SKUs. So it just feels like kind of the year that everybody's gotten excited about Kuli Kuli. And this
Yeah.
is kind of where we're really like, again, that 10-year overnight success. We're like really hitting our stride and growing in a big way, which is super exciting.
Yeah. So I'm curious, these pitches. So, I'm picturing the Whole Foods thing, and it sounds like that was your first really big retailer that you sold to, and now things are just completely opening up. So, how has how has your approach changed, or is it your like how are you getting all of these other what's been the ripple effect of that, I guess, starting with Whole Foods and now all of these other retailers are saying, "Hey, we want in." How have you gotten from Whole Foods to the rest of the retailers?
Yeah, I think the way I approach it is really trying to put myself in their shoes of like, if I'm a Whole Foods buyer, what am I looking for? So like, with that very first meeting, like our pitch was really around like, hey, moringa is a really cool plant and you don't have it on your shelves. So it's something really unique. We've proven we have all this data. We have, 500 consumer
Mm,
surveys that we did at the farmers markets. We have data showing that like your customer wants this. And we have this amazing social mission that totally aligns with Whole Foods social
mm.
mission. And so that's kind of like every retailer conversation I go into. I try to just like put myself in their shoes of like, what would make it super easy for them to say yes.
Mm. So the data for sure. How do you get past that gatekeeper? to actually get the meeting?
Yeah, I call it harassment, so charming harassment. So, a lot of persistence, a lot of follow-up, a lot of creativity. Like, for example, Kroger was one of those accounts where we were like, I reached out a bunch, like just no email response, no email response, no email response. And finally, I was in Zimbabwe, like in the airport, and just was like, let me just try. And probably like wrote subject line like hello from Zimbabwe. And like just sent a little note of like, hey, I'm just here, like sitting with some of these baobab farmers and the things they told me about how baobab is like so transformative for gut health, for skin health. And it's like by sourcing it, we're transforming these communities. I think Kroger's, shoppers would really resonate with this. Are you open to a
Yeah.
chat? Um, and she responded, and like to that from nothing else, zero, 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 anything else. It was like that plus a photo of like me in Zimbabwe in that email that she was like, "This is so cool!" Exclamation point. Yes, and open to meeting. I was like,
Wow.
amazing. So I think just like thinking creatively and trying to not
Mhm.
be annoying about it, but trying to be like, what's something interesting? Like what does the Kroger buyer not see in her inbox very often, you know?
Hello from Zimbabwe. That is
Hello
perfect
from
and brilliant.
Zimbabwe. Probably not.
So good. Well, I think sometimes there's things like this that can be perceived as trends, and trends fade. So how do you keep Kuli Kuli from becoming like just another fad, and how do you keep it building?
Yeah, I mean, I think the thing about trends is like trends come and go. We've been doing this for over a decade and
Yeah.
we've continued to go up and to the right. So I see us more as the like steady build than the like, overnight success ecom brand where it's like, everybody's so excited about X and now we move on to Y. I
Yeah.
think the thing for us that we find is like people try our products and it makes a difference in their lives. And so like
Mhm.
we have people all the time who say like when I don't take moringa, like when I don't have your moringa powder in my morning smoothie, I feel different. I don't feel as energized. Or like, with our strawberries and cream latte, it's like my digestion is just not the same without this product. And
Yeah.
for things like that, where it's like, yeah, if you try it and it really does have an impact on your body, like you're going to keep buying it. And I think we've just kind of like brick by brick, like built this really loyal, super enthusiastic customer base.
Mm. And it sounds like you're continuing to build instead of a departure from, you're keeping your mission very clear, very, combined with social impact and also just how you farm, how you manufacture. It sounds like you're just consistent in all those things that you're doing and people are resonating with that.
Yeah. I mean, I think the thing that like blew my mind was like I made this like little video on my phone of like when we were in Tanzania, just like filming like here covering the ground, like here are the women who are grinding, here's what it looks like. And it got 2 million views on TikTok. And it's like, oh my God, people are curious, people are
Mhm.
interested in this. Like that's wild.
Yeah.
And I'm not a social media person. So it was very ad hoc. It's very authentic, so to speak.
Yeah.
But yeah, it is cool to see. I think there are so many people who like really care and the like all the data is showing like more and more customers like want to dig in. They want to know like where does this product come from? Like what is the impact it has on the world? And like I think it's cool to be a brand that has that level of transparency and that level of trust with our customers.
Yeah. Transparency and authenticity. Like here's who we are, here's what we're doing and here's our mission, which I think is just refreshing. I think it's just awesome. So, Lisa, I'm curious, if people, even 5 years from now, 10 years from now are looking at Lisa Curtis and, they're saying, "Oh yeah, Lisa Curtis, she's the one who dot dot dot." What would be your legacy? What would you hope that they say?
Yeah, I think Lisa Curtis was the one who put climate smart superfoods like moringa on the map.
Yeah. and you're the only. Like, do you want to be the only? Do you want to be the starter? Like, do you want to kind of create this
Oh,
evolution?
yeah, I don't wanna be the only for sure. I mean, whenever I see, like, another moringa brand or Baobab brand, I'm like, "Amazing, I love it. I want
Mm.
more brands doing this. I want more companies, like, leaning in on, like, really transparent supply chains. I want more customers to eat products that are, like, good for their bodies, good for the communities that grow it, good for the environment." Like, I want more of all of that, and so I think I would rather be like the flame that sparks the fire than the only one trying to burn and hold the torch alone.
Yeah, that makes sense. So, as our listeners are listening to this and they're really resonating with this and they're going, okay, so moringa is Lisa's thing. That's how she really found her way. Um, to our listeners that are going, what is my thing? I want to do this. I have that entrepreneurial spirit. They don't know where to start. What would you say?
I mean, I think the best companies start from a personal need and a personal passion. And so I'd really turn that question back and say, like, what lights you up? Like when
Mm.
you do, feel so alive, you feel so in it, you feel like you're in your zone of genius. Like if that's the thing, like go do more of that. I don't think don't chase trends, don't chase market data, like chase the thing that feels authentically you.
Mm. Yeah, because if you don't have the passion behind it, very quickly, I think I heard somebody say that burnout is not the amount of work, it's doing the wrong work. Like it's something that's just
Mm,
draining you instead of really energizing you. And, when
mm.
you talk about the work that you're doing, you just light up. And so I think that's really good advice to find what you're passionate about. Otherwise, I think it'd be really hard when you have this adversity, because you're going to have it, to really power through that. So I think that's great advice. Well, Lisa, I know that we're going to have entrepreneurs that are going to want to reach out to you. And so we'll make sure that all of your information is in the show notes. What's the best way for people to get a hold of you?
Yeah, I mean, social media is great. Like, Kuli Kuli Foods on Instagram or TikTok or I'm Lisa M. Curtis on the same and then LinkedIn as well. Well,
Okay.
happy to connect on any of those platforms. My email inbox is overloaded, so don't go there.
Yeah, don't even try it. Yeah, totally get it. Okay. All right. Well, any words of wisdom, Lisa, as we close out today?
Yeah, I mean, I think I love that Howard Thurman quote of don't ask what the world needs, ask what makes you come alive and go do
Mhm.
that because what the world needs is more people who've come alive. So I think for
Yeah.
anyone interested in starting anything new, like ask what makes you come alive and go do that.
Yeah, very good. Okay. Well, Lisa, thank you so much for being a guest. We wish you the best and good luck in your Kroger launch and your Target launch and your continuation to continue to grow both in products and in footprints where you're putting your product. So, listeners, all of Lisa's information, and we'll put some product information in the show notes as well, so you can learn more about all the things that Lisa's doing, and we'll make sure that the website is in there too. So again, Lisa, thank you for being a guest, and to our listeners, we'll see you next week.
Thanks for listening to Unleashed with Wendi Swanson. Make sure to subscribe and follow to be notified when the newest episodes of the podcast go live. Please take a moment to rate and review us. It helps others discover Unleashed and join our movement of forward-thinking leaders. You can find contact information and important links in the show notes. Stay tuned for the next episode, and remember, keep leading with authenticity, embrace change, and choose to live life unleashed.